Difficult decision, but it seems the choice of where to have a baby can also affect the risk of complications.
The largest survey ever undertaken into the issue found that home births place the infants at an increased, although still small, chance of experiencing medical problems. With us is Cathy Warwick from the Royal College of Midwives.
Morning.
Yes, very good morning to you.
Morning.
We have said very clearly that the risks are very small in any location, but there is a difference for first-time mums between having a baby at home and in a medical setting, in a hospital.
That's right. What this research demonstrates is that there's a very small increased risk if a mother's at home, as opposed to being in hospital, of her baby having problems. But it's terribly important to stress that babies have problems whether they're born in hospital or at home. So it's just a very small difference. And it's very important that women take into consideration a whole range of issues when choosing whether they'll have their baby at home or in a midwifery-led unit or in hospital.
On the other hand, if it is your second or subsequent baby, it is a safer place, or as safe to have your baby at home as it would be in a medical setting. What are the particular issues for a first-time mum which just increase that risk?
Well, the trouble is we're not sure what the issues are. The research hasn't really looked into why these differences might be in existence. So one of the important lessons, I think, for professionals that emerges from this study is we've really got to find out why these differences exist.
Are there generally more complications with a first birth than there are with subsequent births?
Yes, absolutely. And as I say, complications occur for mothers without complications having a first baby, whether they choose to give birth at home or in hospital. So I think it's important that women don't sort of polarise the issue and think home birth has risks and hospital doesn't. And it's very, very important that we minimise those problems wherever women are.
And just in terms of what advice midwives, when that consultation process takes place, so a mother-to-be is seeking advice on having a baby at home or in a hospital setting, is it clearly outlined at that point? For example, the risk factor we've talked about, albeit small, that there is a significant difference between a home birth and the risks attached to that and a medical birth.
Absolutely. That's the job of the midwife, is to make sure that the woman has all the information that she needs to make her own decision. So the midwife will talk about the issues relating to the baby. She'll also tell the woman that if she does choose a home birth, she'll have a much higher chance than if she chooses a hospital birth of not having a caesarean section, of having a normal delivery and not having other problems as well. So there's a sort of balancing act between what might happen for the baby, what might happen for the mother, and what chance have I got of that happening to me? And the mother has to weigh all these things up. It's difficult, I think, to make these decisions, and what women need is a really good midwife who supports them, and they need time. I mean, pregnancy is a 9-month episode, so they can think about it. And it also depends what their family feel, what the father feels, and all these factors need to be taken into consideration.
Well, Cathy Warwick, thank you so much, Chief Executive of the Royal College of Midwives. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Now, if you've ever been burgled, you'll know how horrible it feels to know that someone has been through your possessions.
And when Satin, a mum from South London, was the victim of a burglar, she was so angry, she decided to get back at them by writing an open letter to the criminal and posting it on the streets around her home. And Angie joins us on the line now. Very good morning to you, Angie.
Good morning.
So what happened? When did the burglary happen and what did they take?
It was last Wednesday, and they took my husband's laptop. They also took a ring that my in-laws had bought me for the birth of our children. They took the children's christening necklaces, and they ripped open some Christmas presents of the kids and didn't think they were stealing, so left the contents behind, and also just the mess, really.
If you don't mind, I'll just read out the opening paragraph of the letter you wrote. It says, "To the coward who burgled our home, the few pounds you make from stealing ours and our children's hard-earned, beloved and sentimental possessions will bring you sadness, misfortune and the dark days you so rightly deserve." Now, when you were writing that, what was going through your head? What was it you were trying to achieve by writing that?
Well, I mean, I think the point of me writing the letter, it was actually a second draft. The first draft you probably couldn't put on air, but when I'd calmed down a little bit, this is the one I decided to write. I didn't write it with the intention of putting it up. It was to get how I was feeling out because I couldn't sleep because of the burglary, and then I just felt so angry that someone could come into our home and take away our security that way, even when the things that they took, they're not going to make them very much money, but they meant an awful lot to us. So.
It's obviously a really upsetting thing to happen. It's reported, as you say, in the Daily Telegraph this morning with the version of the letter which you did eventually put up. Did you intend or do you hope that the person responsible will take notice of this letter, or was this as much sort of a process for you to try and get your feelings out as much as a sort of revenge attack on the burglar?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, don't get me wrong, I'm not from the hang and flog 'em brigade. I didn't want, I didn't want revenge. What I wanted the burglar to read it and to think twice about doing it again to somebody else. I was a teacher, and I just thought, the way you get these things across to people is you make it personal. When I used to teach about the Somme, we didn't talk about, the millions of men that were killed. If you can bring it down to just one of those men that was killed and make that a personal story, then people respond, children respond. And I thought, if I make this personal, it was a family and real people that you really hurt by taking these things, then maybe they would have a pang of conscience, and I hope they do.
Yeah, Angie, I mean, we can hear the emotion in your voice, and anyone who's been burgled knows it feels very, very personal. Do you feel better for having written it, or are you having second thoughts now? Do you think it was the right thing to do?
No, I don't regret it for a single second. As soon as I wrote it, as soon as I put it up, it absolutely empowered me. I walked down the street with my girls. I'd reclaimed my street. I saw the posters. I saw people reading them. It made me not think, oh, was it you that burgled my home? It made me think, look, people are sympathetic and empathetic and are rightly outraged as well. And I'm really glad I did it. I took them all down yesterday, actually. I felt I'd got what I wanted to from it. I thought, if the burglar does live here, they would have seen it, and I felt my street was mine again.
Well, Angie, a lot of people will know how you feel, and thank you so much for joining us this morning, Angie Satin.
OK, thank you.
Let's see, time now is 16 minutes past 8, time for the weather with Alex.
Good morning. Some stormy conditions last night across northern Scotland, in particular. Big area of low